So we've been having some thoughts, actually, about my biological mother, my bio mom. Sounds a little science fiction-y. That's the best way I've come across to refer to her. But yeah, we've definitely had some new thoughts moving forward, trying to find a link to her if she's still alive, or at least using that link to get to my siblings. So this entire time, I've been under the assumption that since I was born in Nyack Hospital, that I must be from or very close to the Nyack area, that Nyack, New York would be my starting point to try to find answers. And as I've said in a couple of videos, I'm using Search Squad, they're called, from Facebook, that helps adoptees try to find their families. And the lady Tiffany, their search angel they have helping me, while she was going over some of the information and results from DNA, ancestry DNA, a very interesting thought came up. So I told her my story. She needs to know that. So now we're thinking about Aunt Mitch. So Aunt Mitch, Helen Mitchell, she's the focal point in this entire story. So I contacted my cousins who live upstate in the area, and I asked if any of them remember what Aunt Mitch's address was, especially as far back as they knew or could find out. So it seems that it's going as far back, definitely to 1974, possibly earlier, but we know for sure going back to 1974, she seems to have lived either in Peekskill or in Mohegan Lake. Now, Nyack, New York is more or less pretty much halfway point between that area of upstate New York and New York City, especially the northern tip of Manhattan Island where I live. So now we're thinking that I've been looking in the wrong place. That I'm never going to find the needle in this haystack because I'm in completely the wrong haystack. We're thinking that if Aunt Mitch knew this woman, this young lady, that she must know her from a neighborhood. Or even through family friends, and they usually tend to be in the same general area where you know your family friends. So somewhere between Putnam, Peekskill, Mohegan Lake, even that Bear Mountain area, that whole little cluster of area right there, she could be potentially from anywhere, but specifically we're looking at Peekskill and Mohegan Lake, as those are the two addresses that we have for Mitch. I mean, it could be a little bit wider of a circle, like I just mentioned, but that's the epicenter. Those two places is now where we're thinking that might be where my bio mom is from. May still be, if she's still alive. Possibly, again, if Dad's memory was correct and there was 4 or 5, I think there's a chance that at least one of them might still live in the area. It's not uncommon for at least one of many siblings to be somewhere still in the area that their family is from. So with a big family, it raises the possibility of that. I've been doing a lot of thinking actually lately about my biological mother and biological father, not only because of this, but also because of the fact that the whole half possibility came up, half sibling, a hit with a possible half niece. And I'm not ignoring that, actually. I'm just, I want to get the 23andMe results back and see if there's any other closer hit. And if not, I'm going to move forward, possibly trying to contact this possible half cousin or half niece or nephew, more than likely, we're thinking now. But so I've been doing a lot of thinking, and my mom, again, if the numbers are correct, would have started having kids in like the mid-60s, early mid-60s. That places it in, the whole hippie generation. And, is that a possibility? And I'll be completely blunt also, simply because I have nothing to go on. But even the idea of I could be a product of a rape, even, which might be, we were thinking, reason why my biological mom's husband definitely wouldn't have wanted to keep me. Raising someone that he knows is a bastard kid. I know it's harsh to put it like that, but I have to think of these things as realistically as possible. And it opened up a whole new can of worms about my bio family and a lot more questions about them. And it's weird because, like I said before, most of these 20 years I've been thinking that I was like the only missing piece in that puzzle, and I was in a spot that nobody noticed there was a missing piece at. And now with all this new information coming in between half bloodlines and it's never what you think. No matter how many possibilities you run through your mind, it's never going to be what you think until that very last moment where the true reality is shown, where you finally get an answer or meet someone. Until that very, very moment, remember, if you're having these same thoughts like I am, because you're trying to picture everything. What could they be like? Are they like me? Do they look like me? Is there similarity in the eyes or a hobby or something that we enjoy? What's the connection there? It's always just going to be a what if. It's just going to be a fantasy. And it's okay. It's okay. That's what I'm trying to learn right now, that just because the reality now is pointing that it might not be close to the fantasy that I've kind of had in my mind for 20 years, it doesn't mean it's bad. I have to do this, and you have to do this too. It's a process we kind of got to go through. We have to go through the what ifs. We have to go through the who's that, who am I, because we go through our whole lives. We go through our whole lives thinking we know the story. If our life was a book, we think that we know the whole story of our life, and for us adoptees, especially the ones that don't find out till later in life, that's part of the shock. You go through, like for me, you go through 30 years thinking that you know the book of your life from the first page of the dedication, all the way up to the current chapter that you're on right now. And then you find out that what you thought was chapter 1 was chapter 2. And you're missing all this. And all you can do is fantasize about it. All you can do is think about it. What could it be? Who could they be? What could I be? And it's okay, but you can't get swallowed up by it. And when things change, when your reality turns out not to be any one of the millions of fantasies that you thought of, you have to be prepared to be okay with that. You can't let that destroy you. You can't let that shatter you. That is the most important part of any fantasy that we have about who our families are, what they are, how are they, is it's never going to be right until we meet them and we find out what the answer is. So don't let the answer shock you. Don't let any of it change anything moving forward from that point on. Because from that point on, where you finally, if you're lucky enough, get to meet, that's the real chapter you're reading. Everything else you're just fantasizing. What is that chapter like? What could it be like? Just remember from that moment on, the way you act, the way you react, the way you handle this, the way you take it in, that's going to dictate the way the chapter is really going to play out. And that's what I'm coming to terms with. That's what I'm, been going through with my mind. All these different possibilities and knowing that that's all they are. It's okay for me to have them, as long as I realize that's all they are, is possibilities. It's not the way things are. It's when you start believing that that's the way things are, that's when you're going to get shattered. So that's what I've been mulling over, and that's what I'm coming to terms with. So if you're dealing with this whole thing, you know, questioning everything, who are they, what are they like, it's normal, it's natural. Go through it. Go through that process. Don't stop. And it's a process that's never going to end until you meet them, but just keep doing it, because it's going to make you feel better. It's going to give you something to think about other than maybe other questions, like why did they get rid of me or something. Don't worry about that. Think about where they are, what's going to happen when you meet them, and don't worry about the story beforehand, because you don't know it. If you don't know it, it can't really hurt you. Only you can hurt you. All right. I'll just keep talking, so I might as well stop now. All right, thank you very much. I'll be back with the next thought.